had a very busy day regathering my belongings, right? I got, like, a lot of my stuff back. I really do think if civilization was doomed and you had to restart, I really do think we're fucked. Because the U.S. government doesn't know doesn't know how to tie its own shoelaces. I've talked about this before especially with the applicants during the Cultural Revolution, right? I almost guarantee there's like an entire blackout on Social Security cards. There's definitely nothing on there. There's no data. It's like a black hole. I wonder if there's anyone else who can confirm this for me. Right. I talked about this already. It's just an apocalypse. How's anyone like, when was the Cultural Revolution? Like the 70s or something? How's anyone going to be able to recover data from that farther back, right? Doesn't matter what the circumstances. You call the Social Security Department, they take weeks, and even then they just lie. I want to ask, no, seriously, how are you going to start over? What if you lose your credit card? What if you lose your wallet? And when civilization is doomed, right? What if you lose everything? You got to turn to people for help. You got to know how to poke the CDC. You got to know how to talk to these people. And if they can't even help you, how do you get anything done? I'll tell you, like, the only real security when civilization collapses, it's the money in your wallet. It's not even the U.S. government. That's not a good sign, because money can be easily stolen. So the only real thing that can save you when the civilization collapses are your friends. But no one actually friends people these days, right? It's your village. Your village is really the only thing that's useful. It's not even money, really. Right? It's your LinkedIn connections, the strength of your LinkedIn connections, right? People like to think money is what saves you, right? You get extra cash, that's fine. I thought about that for a while, but it's really the strength of your connections, whether people can get stuff done for you. I had to choose between the two. People don't do that, right? We don't even have any studies about how many friends do you actually have these days, right? Like that people that don't friend under certain circumstances. There's been a lot of studies. Do people actually have true friends? There's a lot of studies saying, no, we don't actually have true friends. We have fake friends. So, yeah, it's a rehearsal. I have to get some of my replacement licenses. And what do you do when stuff don't work? People want physical copies. They don't want photocopies. They don't want anything. I'm even thinking and even if you get biometric backups for a lot of stuff you lose, right? And let's say you got biometric backups, that's not a good enough substitute for a lot of companies, even for tech companies like Amazon. They want like an actual physical copy of the passport. They don't want a biometric scan of a passport. I feel like that would be good enough. Maybe you do need a physical copy, right? But physical copies can be stolen too, right? The RFID biometric scan should be the equivalent of a sales receipt in today's modern tech era. No, this is the problem. I don't like that we live in an era where we cannot openly talk about how useless our institutions are. The only thing really useful, and I've noticed that, the most important thing is you need to process the paperwork faster. If you're rich, you're from the Cultural Revolution, can you get a Social Security card if you lost it? I'm kind of curious about this now. Other than without paying someone to circumvent the process. You can't get anything. I'm pretty sure the U.S. government doesn't exist. Might as well be stateless already. Security doesn't work. There's loopholes. When you keep inventing loopholes, eventually you don't have an institution. You just have a bunch of anonymous entities. You don't really have anything these days. You just have. What do you have these days? I'm hoping you have something. I don't know. Better than nothing, right? You don't really have anything. What I found out when I was looking through the paperwork, and after thinking about it for a while, is you have. I hope my car's fine. What do you end up having? What you end up having is you have a bunch of entities owned by a bunch of corporations, really. And they're able to control you because they all command your supply chains, and you make the most. And the governments are more concerned with making extra commission fees. So whoever controls your commission fees ultimately control the government. It's not even really Biden, right? It's a lot more complex than that. Oh, well, because everyone wants to follow the money they get, right? Well, if Nancy gets her billions, why can't I get a couple $50K on the side? Why can't I get some profitable side hustles? Right? People think, well, you can make side hustles make money if you're outside. That's not true. The most sustainable side hustles are people within the U.S. government. So and usually it's the bosses. So who controls their paycheck is who owns them. But on paper it says Biden owns them. That's not true. Biden's not paid anything. Does this suddenly become really complex on who pays who? Right? Once you make it murky on who's actually paying who and what now, right? There's paperwork, a lot of paperwork. If it was simple, right, just one page, oh, everything's controlled by the commander-in-chief, the story would have ended by now. But everyone has their own interest groups. Maybe people don't want the Social Security cards to be connected to the older government because China doesn't like the United States. Maybe China's passive-aggressive of people migrating to the United States. Yeah, they should. You should. You've got to think about this. Do they really like the Chinese Americans? China like them moving to the U.S.? Not really. Maybe they paid the U.S. government to short them. Right? SJWs don't really like Asians, by the way. I'm okay with racism against Asians. Yeah, I don't really think China has a very positive impression. You really think they're not going to tofu Social Security IDs for Asian Americans? Yes, they do. They all do. No one's going to be blunt and honest about what it is. Who pays Social Security? Oh, it's China, right? If you're not paying the commander-in-chief, you ain't paying anyone in the government. Right? All the taxes I've studied go to military-industrial complex. And by the way, you get a lot of rewards for even selling a business at a loss for vets. So the whole purpose of enjoying that 6 or 7 figure mandatory retirement is you need to start a business for the military. I studied it. I'm pretty sure that's the whole point. It's so you get more money. The politicians get $0. That's how it's set up. The military has more power than the politicians. And then, of course, the public doesn't seem to have understood how the system even works. Right? They're so averse to starting a business these days. Even if it fails, you get charity and you make it pro-military, they'll help you. Right? And the military has UBI, universal health care. You can enjoy a lot of stuff. There's so many ways not to fail. It's not even funny. Of course they won't. Right? You gotta join the Red Army. So this is just kind of it's just 101 basics that I'm starting to realize. The only real functioning arm of the government is the Navy. They're the only ones that get you anything. You join the Navy, you get Social Security, you get the Navy, you get free memberships, you get all this stuff. The whole goal is to start your own business. This is how you start over without benefiting the politician. And the politicians still forced to do their job because they're paid by another country to basically do it for them. It is actually a way more workable system for the public than anyone can imagine. It's just that the public, I feel like, after studying the paperwork, is more TARDIS than I thought. They're just too scared to start a business. They feel like they're being attacked. You benefit so much. You get tax breaks, you get so much shit. It's pity day all day, every day. And then the military helps you set up an Amazon e-commerce store. Suddenly you're friends with Jeff. I don't. I can't. I don't have the balls to do that. That's why when I started, I said, no, I can't start a business. I can't get an audience. But I do not have any real support, right? If you have this is if you have a family unit, of course. Right? And basic family structure support. I'm trying to do something more cleaner because I still, I have other reservations for starting a business other than failure. It's the danger. And the personal danger I have with starting a business is there's a lot of, one thing is the customer influx flow isn't there. You can definitely get backup from the military industrial if you have mass group effort. I'm trying to do it a more cleaner way. I do hope I can get military funding someday for this. But you need community support, which you can't get. I'm doing it through the arts. You can get venture capital pretty easily through other forms, right? You can be a cleaner, a street sweeper, a janitor. Right, janitor starts at Nintendo. He worked at a game company, you know. He innovated. Yeah, you might as well. They're not paid anything. They're being paid by another country. The thing with me is I want to do it safer because I'm not confident that I'm smart enough to run the paperwork. So I want to go with something I know already, something that you can slowly integrate. That's photography. Pretty easy to replicate Twitter tweets, right? Pretty easy to replicate everything. Yes, it's very easy to replicate everything. It takes me about like a minute just to write a tweet, encompassing all the beauties and the glories of any discipline I've learned. I can create entertainment already. I do this with Facebook. I don't really like Facebook. They just banned me for hate speech. I'm kind of done. I'm trying to be really careful about what I'm talking about, by the way. Got to be really conservative on how I play the social media game. Right? I gotta think about this. So, a lot of what I'm doing right now focuses on creating a sustainable, like, put myself through the least amount of state of minds that I can get to doing a task. That way it doesn't take me longer. I'm not hesitating as much on moving. State of mind, right? If you ever study trig, you can actually quantify your state of mind depending on the day. So what you do is you look at your completion times and you try to see, you mark a graph, right? So what you do is you look at the completion times of each task, you mark it up, and it's going to ebb and flow, right? Like a sine or cosine wave. And you see which formula it matches. And you see if any of the activities or tasks you're doing represent your order of sequence of tasks represent a specific sine or cosine wave. That way you can sort of predict which specific day, which time or hour you're going to be the most productive. Right? And you do it independent of food tasks, right? You want to make sure you don't see any spike in energy, right? And if you do see spike in energy, try to move that wave, shift it. You want to shift that cosine wave a little bit. Yeah, you gotta measure the small shifts. They matter. So you say, well, if I got a zenith, right, at like, I don't know, at like pi something, right? Pi, right? Yeah, and this is kind of like, or -1, right? It's just, and now you don't have to use that. I'm just giving you a basic laydown. You want to use pi in the radian circle to create or simulate models of potential waves that your completion time represent, right? Because once you draw a wave and it bounces up and down, it represents behaviors reminiscent of other formulas. You can start using sine and cosine and tangent formulas, right? If it resembles that behavior, you can start using predictive modeling. You don't actually have to understand the sine, cosine, tangent formula whatsoever. I'm giving you a visual demonstration of how you can visually understand math formulas without even knowing what symbols are. I'm giving you a really easy way to use this. So once you know how to shift your behavior, once you know how to shift the waves, you can start being productive, figuring out where your energy levels are. Right now you have energy points, right? Maybe you're most productive at 5, you're most productive at 8. Those are your high points for your cosine wave or whatever, right? I don't need to be that specific, but I may just go and do that. Some people, right, and this is the thing interesting me about trig, some people who understand that mindset, they don't even have to read the trig book. They just stare at it for about 5 seconds. That is what's going on. Since you already know how to schedule based on those waves, model after those waves, you don't actually have to know the formula. Just stare at it. It's like, oh, that's what it specifically is talking about. That's what I'm specifically doing. This is what I mean by visualization exercise. You don't have to know what sine, cosine, tangent are. You just know your behavior. If you plot it on a point and you plot random numbers, it resembles those graphs. It's like, oh, that's what those specific formulas are. This is how you cheat at reading. You don't even have to know addition or subtraction. Shit. You really don't to do this. You really don't need to know first grade or second grade math. There's shortcuts everywhere. Why do teachers not teach you these basics? This is the type of stuff you get when you experiment around and fiddle around with shit for a while. Yeah, people are playing with trig all the time. Do you really know what it is? Nope. It just exists. you can get a shallow understanding of stuff. And a lot of people do this a lot in math. They don't understand every topic in math, but they get a C+ average. I'm telling you what's in the inner workings of someone's mind. This is the thing. You can't. You really do not need to know addition and subtraction for calc either. I'll show you how this works. You just need to understand how to image things specifically. You need to learn how to observe, like, Prunette, that guy who did Prunette squares. You just need to know how to observe reality around you. You really do not need to know symbols. You really don't need to. If you understand the visual part, you can get a C+ with minimal effort. A+ is hinging on a lot of damn factors that I cannot keep track of. That's the problem. If you get a C+, that means you understand it just as good as the A+ guy. That's the joke, because you sort of know cheat codes, right? To shortcut understand stuff, and that's all the corporation needs from you. The other indicators are great, fantastic. You get a B+, A+, but like in terms of the corporation's more interested in adaptability. Adaptability is all that matters in learning. You just need a shallow understanding, apply stuff, and you sell. Deep understanding can come after you get quick, shallow understanding. That you can do anytime. You study in your free time, study at home. It's good enough for corporate usage. Oh, you got a tough question? Whatever. Just go ping someone else to get the answer. What the fuck ever. Takes you like maybe another hour. Not everyone has an extra hour because everyone's scheduling, right? Everyone's busy. And they do not have like another 2 or 3 hours because they're scheduling, right? They got a busy life. If you get a C+ that easily, you can Google and diagnostic stuff, troubleshoot stuff. I know this for a reality because there's a lot of questions. I start to understand that there's a lot of questions. So to look at, let's look at SOA exam P. I saw some questions about like probability tree diagrams a while back, right? And I was wondering, well, why, where is this mentioned? It's not mentioned anywhere. You want to know why? Because a lot of books don't talk about visualization, imaging, right? So there are some, if you've ever looked at some probability 101 courses, this is funny as fuck. Some books actually go into more details on how to visualize stuff than others. Some professors, and they do a really good job of how to think about it. That's kind of what you're looking for. I always thought it's like go through it as much problems as possible. No, that's not really the right way. Go through which ones go through the most colorful illustrations of math, right? That go on a mind map system, right? They give you a template that generates visualizations that represent every problem, diagram every problem. Look for a teacher that teaches that, how to diagram, how to create like a methodology for you to create alternative diagrams, right? Or usable templates, visual templates. That one usually has like the most use. That's the most useful teacher. You don't have to explain math, just draw. You know how to draw these problems, you pretty much know how to solve them. A lot of teachers don't have time to go over it because they can't explain their drawings, and even if they did, could they even contemplate how to draw this stuff, right? That's kind of the secret. That's kind of how Feynman learns stuff so fast, right? I ever wonder why he's like, I wrote a notebook of what I know and what I did not know. He was talking about drawing. Yeah, this makes sense if you're an artist. Feynman never talked about drawing. Oh no, he drew quite a lot. He burned his drawings. That's kind of what's the deal with him is. His real possession, his real prizes are the drawings that represent those math problems. It is not the math formula, guys. He has probably over 1,000 templates that he uses. And when he's looking at components, he's thinking of one master template or one web page layout, and he's adding more components to it. He's not talking about math or formula. He's not talking about problems. He's talking about, I want to wonder what else I can add to my canvas. Can you imagine if math was defined by drawing? Would it really be that hard? Nope, he's not going to talk about it. Everything else is derived from his drawings. Now, you can actually observe sine and cosine tangent waves. So I ended up modeling my behaviors. I looked at the points, my behaviors, and why would I chart it on a graph without, I can chart it on a graph without understanding what the hell a graph is? Here's how. I drew. I drew it in my mind, and why would I not? You don't have to understand it as a graph. This is why. Because I'm talking about energy levels. How do you model energy levels? By a graph. What does an energy level represent? How else do you model an energy level? An energy level does not exist without a line. You don't need to understand what a graph is, right? You have a low point and a high point, and you see it rise, and you're measuring multiple energy levels. What do you think you're going to do? You're going to draw a line, guys. And you can do it without a graph, too. It's going to represent a wave anyways. Yeah, I'm modeling after waves. And whatever shifts the behavior, whatever is your high point, low point, and you figure out whether this task gives you that energy level, you then move that task to something earlier, right? If it's a food activity. Yeah, you can understand stuff without even knowing what the terms are. And a lot of people who get C+ can do that. But they don't know how to explain how their mind works. I'm explaining how this works. So you don't even have to know how to graph, how to do graphing. So here's what you do. And this goes for sine cosine waves. You don't even know addition and subtraction. I'm just proving myself right now. So I'm using sine, cosine, and tangent systems randomly in my head to figure out how to bump my energy levels up. I decided to opt for something simpler for now. Because right now I do not know how to accurately quantify all of my behaviors, right? You could be doing this with trig. Trig helps you organize your life. That's basically what trig's for. Calc is the one where you start a business, right? And then every other math is just a spawn derivative of that. Because if you have no money, no budget, you go to calculus. You can start selling products like computer science, right? Right, you can go into construction. Real estate. Fishing. You can start fishing really well. Right, this gives you leeway. Here's the thing, there's no guarantee of cash. There's no guarantee of making money in any of these fields, right, if you do calculus. But you can learn how to do a lot of sales proposals, and someone will pity you eventually. This is what employers prefer. They don't just want you to go to school. It doesn't matter what system you're in. Now, okay, let me go back to my earlier explanation because I'm managing my time right now. So today I modeled my behavior after a cosine wave. I was looking at my minimum, maximum, minimum and maximum. I was noticing that when I do videos and I do video editing, it takes too long. So I notice if I do a video and I do photo editing of like multiple vids, it takes too long. So, and I noticed that when I do it earlier in the morning, I'm at a low point. I'm in the midpoint, right? I'm never at my height where I'm doing stuff faster. Now I notice my iteration times for completing a task are faster when I do multiple videos at once, and I complete them all really quickly. I'm actually producing, so let's say, I'll give you an example. So let's say I record, this is a good example of organizing your life using trig. You don't even have to know what the hell a graph is either. Now, why would you want to use a graph? That's so you can apply patterns to those numbers. Because there's too many points to keep track of, right? What do you do when you see too many points? You make patterns. And that's when you start thinking about a graph. Because a graph is a pattern at the end of the day, right? Red, white, you know. That is a pattern. It's that you don't have to think of a graph, you just think of a pattern, right? You know, XO, XO, right? You start seeing a pattern. And once you start making patterns out of those numbers, you can actually start doing stuff, can't you? Once you categorize them. The whole point of a graph is to categorize what you're seeing around you. That's the whole point of math and symbols. Once you categorize them, you can explain it away using a simpler mechanism, right? You really do not have to do addition and subtraction to know sine and cosine. You don't have to do any of this shit. So people back then, homeschooled, they used to just test a bunch of shit and see which shit explodes. Trust me, people are like, I never know what calc is. I just accidentally did it. People do this stuff all the time and don't talk about it. You do not need to know addition, subtraction. This is how people get C+ and do not understand what addition and subtraction is. There is the mechanical understanding, and then there's the intuitive understanding, which does not require you to take math at all, by the way. Now the reason why they don't refine their mechanical is they have other shit to do, right? There's plenty of other things to do in their time. It's a matter of budgeting their time. So yeah, I knew it was in the midpoint. I never reached my maximum behavior. My maximum behavior comes from eating food. I don't eat food all the time, so so what can you do? You order your tasks differently, right? You sequence the order in which you complete an assignment differently. Make sure your state of mind's the same. Right? If you do not have a time of day where you're the most productive, you just look at the time of day in which your state of mind, you look at the next best thing. You look at which way in which you can order your tasks where you can only use one state of mind, right? Reduce the number of state of minds your mind has to shift to as possible. And I calculate those wave times. And my state of mind, again, is defined by a common completion time pattern. Right? I complete this in 5 minutes. I complete this in 2 minutes. I complete this in 5 minutes. I complete it in 2. I quantify that as a state of mind. Now, if it's a longer state of mind, it's like 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, right? That's an inefficient state of mind that I don't want to be in. State of minds can be defined by a graph, too, by the way. But the more ideal state of mind I want is something where you have a repeat, right? Complete this 2 minutes. I complete this in 5. I repeat this in 2. It's as repetitive as possible. That's the state of mind I want to be in, right? Right? I complete this in 10 minutes, 20, 10 minutes, 20. It's not about how fast you complete it, it's how consistent you complete it in. Once you establish consistency within those different completion times, you can actually then start reducing the amount of time it takes to do anything. Right? Because you start realizing, oh, that's the state of mind that I'm in. That's the most productive. Then, when I look at edge cases, like I do tasks that completely deviate from my schedule, I can start doing them faster if I recognize they're in the same state of mind. Now you suddenly have a really efficient schedule. Using trig. Right? Trig is a pretty useful subject. It depends, right? I always cherry pick which parts of trig I want to use. You don't want to use everything in trig. It's kind of like math. You're allowed to cherry pick stuff. You do not have to learn things like a prerequisite system. That's fallacious thinking. I'll tell you why math is a lot like English. It's because back then, a lot of people played in the sandbox. That's how math worked for people. They don't build stuff as much as they used to. 24/7, they're experimenting around with sine waves, right? Right. Alchemy was a thing for a reason. So, we don't have that anymore. You don't need to change the fact we're communicating math. You do not need to communicate in numbers. You just need to play in the sandbox a lot. But the thing is, you can't have video games, right? You can't have a cell phone. Oh, you can have a cell phone, but you can't have apps. This is what went wrong in society. Right? When the parent gives kids too much shit, they're forced to not, they're incentivized to not explore the esoteric parts of reality. So they don't want to explore mathematics anymore. When you have nothing to do, you spend your free time exploring quantum mechanics, right? On a subconscious level. It's not the prof's fault. There's a lot of outside exploration kids did back then. You really thought mathematics was invented by some formal... No, it wasn't. It was invented by people who drunk too many beers at night, okay? They drew some weird caveman drawings, and there you go, mathematics got invented. Right? They followed some guy in the sky, right? It did not get invented because they went inside a classroom. The classroom part helped them formulate their thoughts, but that was not how it started. That's why math doesn't work. And once you start exploring mathematics, even if you don't understand it, you can start cherry picking which part of math you... That's what's called thinking. You need to not have video games if you want to be able to use have shortcuts around mathematics, right? I even can use cryptography without even knowing what addition and subtraction is. You can ask me what addition is. What the fuck's that? I don't need to know second grade math to know that, to apply that part. Depends on how I apply it. Ever wonder why we ask specific questions? It's because we can shortcut mathematics. That's why we ask things specifically, because we're asking, in what way are you trying to apply this concept? Right? The concept of a matrix doesn't necessarily have to go into mathematics, does it? Programming. Is there math involved when you're programming shit? No. Not really, not for a matrix. Adding stuff into an array and a sub-array, I am not seeing math in there. I'm seeing logic. Right? So when we're asking specific questions, we're trying to figure out which logic gates we're using. Are we using philosophical logic gates to construct a matrix? Because that could be something else you're talking about. Or are we using numbers to construct a matrix? What are we talking about? Are we talking about transformations? We may not even be talking about, and even if we're talking about transformations, are we actually talking about numerical transformations, or are we talking about visual transformations? Because you can actually qualitatively describe numbers without numbers, right? Yes, you can. And you don't even need to do anything about it. You just look at some materials over. Let's say you're in a warehouse facility. You don't really even need to consciously use numbers. Let's say you have like 50 shipments and 20 shipments of ingots and silver, right? 100 golds, and they're all in like different rows and columns of the warehouse. You really do not need to know numbers. You just say, I've seen this layout before. I'm going to add the multiplicative property. You don't call it that, but that is what you're doing. It's like, numbers? No. You don't need to know numbers to do that whatsoever. I've seen this pattern before. You see the key here? Where I had to multiply. I don't really fucking have... You really need to know numbers to multiply? No, you don't. You just have to do the same thing a couple of times depending on what you multiply it by, right? Copy and paste. No, you don't. This stuff, no, you don't. You really don't need to know addition and subtraction. It's necessary, it's helpful, but worst case scenario, you don't need to. This is what I'm talking intuitive. Intuitive understanding. Right? Division. I'm splitting into groups, right? I'm tackling a team project into groups, right? I'm dividing my labor. You don't need to know division to do that. I'm just telling you right now, there's a lot of ways to learn stuff without actually understanding what the hell's going on. Ask any warehouse supervisor who's gifted in this. Do they really understand? They are applying matrices. They never learned it in school. I'm telling you, when you fiddle around with shit, your whole life, stuff just happens. Math came around at a time when people were in a society of just do it, figure shit out on your own. You did not, the complex symbology came later when people wanted to do things really, really fast. In a faster iteration, and a faster scale. But that came about when we were mentally evolved as a society. Right? Math means nothing without mental evolution. Otherwise, you're just lost as fuck. Today's society, we don't even care about parenting. We're just raising babies. Are they getting any mental upgrades like the old people are? Are they experiencing the discipline and grit developed from working in a slave factory? You don't need to put them in one, but are they developing the mental fortitude? Right? Math is missing a lot of context here. Where's the struggle to come up with this stuff? Everything's just pre-made for you. That's what's going on. That's why math's so hard to learn. Because a lot of math was developed in a time when we were randomly testing explosions. We're not doing that anymore. What's going on? That is what happened. You can. Yes, you can. Mathematics can be tinkered with. But you need to learn how to observe reality. So people, how do they observe mathematical reality? They followed a prophet. They followed a seer, right? They called them psychics back then. They counted stuff so fast. That was called a psychic. They followed someone who had a different perspective of reality. This is how they learn stuff. And you gotta stop. People who think you just learn math from a textbook, no, you're capped if you actually think that's how mathematics is truly learned. And it's learned by people who follow their gut and test to see whether the structure collapses right in front of your face. It started in the construction industry, okay? It did not start you in a classroom. Anything goes. Right? Remember the Tutankhamun? Remember Cleopatra? How the pyramids were built and all this shit? The symbology came to make it super specific, right? And to make the paperwork better, right? To make sure the client, right, in the marketplace got something solid, got solid building details. Everything started, people dick-fagged around. It's true. I need to find the right term, but people screwed around. It's very exploratory. The classroom isn't even, and even the classroom is just there to help disabled people originally, who didn't want to tinker with any of this stuff. They never wanted to play around. They wanted to stay quiet and safe, and that was fine. Yes, no one wanted to follow a seer or a prophet because it made them lose their shit. I had a vision of what a matrix looked like. Let me imprint that as I smoke a bong, right? That's pretty much what happened. They did that play around. Yeah, you can. It's now why the prerequisites exist. I'll tell you. This is for a specific class of people. They're for the non-hunter-gathering class, who couldn't do anything but clerical work. They needed prerequisites to exist. But prerequisites isn't bullshit. Don't get me wrong. But the fact there's standardized prerequisites, that's the real bullshit. Right? The schools try to put everything. There is none. Everyone disagrees. People in mathematics come from all different walks of life. We have different prerequisites we come with, right? Anyways, yeah, I'm looking at the sine wave, and I'm looking at the activity, and I want to replicate at an early time to see if my sine wave gets me a higher maximum. I'm doing it in my mind. I can draw a chart and diagram and show you what formulas I'm mentally using. I'm applying some patterns. This is a very big topic. I really think we are teaching math. You cannot teach math like that. You need to teach math with a sandbox method, but the schooling method is just, I feel it's too outdated even for those who are truly gifted. Right? It used to be a business gambit, right? Math used to be a cheap way of sending out business proposals. It used to be that way. Business calculus was a thing for a reason. Right? I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to go do more podcasts about this. I'm going to show you how to apply trig. Like, I never went into math much. How you can just you can just jump from one concept to another. As long as you have the prerequisite understanding, observing certain drawings, of observing certain patterns, because that's how you learn anything. Observe certain patterns, and if you observe enough of those patterns, you can pretty much jump anywhere. Without prior understanding. Now, super deep understanding, that's a different story. That is a different story. That actually does require you to practice problems. Right? You can definitely do quite a bit of those problems already, but like there's this 20% you can't scratch because they require you to actually do some prereqs. Now, prereqs is a flexible definition, of course. You can already apply it, and now teachers assume you can't even understand it, period, without reading the other stuff. No, you don't. Now, in terms of how many questions you can answer, that is a different story. So back then, what ended up happening for the profs is they actually helped the students complete the homework assignments. They didn't even teach it. Because you could just understand easily, just read it. So what do? They send the profs their homework problem, questions on what homework problems they were stuck on. And they just went over it. Didn't matter which one. You can, and the problem is students don't learn like that because they literally think the numbers and the concepts are the same thing. They're not. They're independent for a reason. So you can shortcut and jump from one point to point A to point Z, right? You're stuck on a problem? Go. You can. You as a 5-year-old can understand calculus without reading it, right? Now, if you can do computations is a different story. How far you can computate certain things. Like, you can't computate everything, but you can computate quite a bit of those problems. I say roughly 50% regardless of whether you even learn the concept. And this is with a manual, you can pretty much do all of them, which is funny. Quite a bit of them. You don't even have to know what addition is. What is that? Oh. I wish I was bragging about this. I'll show it to you later on a podcast how this works. I swear to God. People don't talk about this anymore because it's so shameful. Oh yeah, I blew up some buildings. That's how I learned trig. It's how to think. Now you want specific numbers. You want it done right. That's why you buy a solution manual. That's why, yes, there were manuals back then that existed. There were solution manuals. The profit guy's like, well, I'm overworked. I gave you a solution manual for all the problems. Want to go? They made it anyways. You know why. It's insurance. It's insurance to make sure you all solve the problems. Some problems they put out there, like, oh dear Lord, some of them require you to understand how to calculate paths of a probability. That is not anywhere in any probability class. You have to go... So there is, and I have to think about this right now. There used to be, so why psychics and seers? Because they used to do podcasts on all the tough math problems. Right. They used to do oratory, right? They used to do seminar speaking tours. That is what happened. They cover everything. That was their solution manual, right? They used to do that. Right? Remember those Wimbledon witchcraft clubs? There were some really freaky clubs going on. They need to join them. If they don't join them, they won't be able to learn how to do it. They don't even need to learn. Yeah, I'm serious. They covered everything. He didn't actually teach you how to solve stuff. He just went over every possible problem. Yeah, the little kid went over and talked about his crazy rant, and he's like, that's a fascinating story. Yeah, math kind of started out as a creepypasta. It just got popular. Yeah, I might do that. I'm going to start doing some stuff to some of them. I don't even know what calc is. I already can jump into it. This is why I can jump into stuff even though I've never studied it for like 2 years. I have a visual understanding. I'm a, what I call is, I'm a heavily visual learner. So I have to be visual every specific step of the way. Now, I think I know how to do it now. I have no problem into jumping into stuff now. Right, I just saw like a Fourier transformation supply chain formula just now. And I was, not just now, but like a couple days ago. I think I know how to apply it. And it's based off of some sequence of supply chain transformation, global chain transformations that I see when a bunch of intermediaries do exchanges with another group of intermediaries from another company. I think that's what it was. That's because I understand the visualization of what's going on. I don't even know what the damn number formula is. I just have to know what the visuals are. Yeah, you can do this if you've been... Oh, fuck. How did I figure this out? I've been reading visual novels, and I've been trying to quantify. I've been made in my life effort to quantify those visual novels every page. Trust me, you really don't need to know the numbers. It helps, though, to get hired. It really does help to get hired. But the problem is you have to experiment around, wait for explosions, you don't know whether it fucks up. I imagine applying the formula wrong. Can you imagine how many angry companies there are? All those moving construction cranes start crashing down, right? Yes, if you apply it the wrong way. And why? Because to make the transportation network exchange data, you have to make sure all the inventories, the safety inventory for each of the construction parts, right, they're exchanging. If it's a construction industry, you're trading cranes, you got to make sure they have an accurate number. You got to make sure all the cranes are accurately accounted for. Because if the transportation nodes swap at the wrong time, I think they run into each other. And a lot of truck drivers, and I could be ridiculously wrong on that, they may run into each other and cause a car crash. This happens. People experimented with this type of shit back then, free of charge. Oh, hey, headmaster, I want to work for X Trading Guild Company. Here are my global supply chains. I'm from a family of a poor rural background. I'm an orphan. Please help me. I want to be hired by Christopher Columbus so I can go escape the Pleiades someday. My family is in a relationship with Eve for like a couple weeks. He or she, I think I had like 5 other moms. They just kind of killed themselves. Oh, yeah, please help me. I want to stow away. What's your compensation? Are you sure? Nope, I'm willing to work for free. Fuck that shit, I'm out. I'm giving a passive-aggressive example because I think I saw that happen at one point in a dream. She's like, I don't want to be part of their family. That's terrifying. I saw tentacles. I'll give you all of my allowance. I need to run. Kids used to plan their escape too. And like, I can help you escape, sure. Yeah, of course. Now the joke is you lie about who you're running away from. He's like, I'm running away from the Jolly Rancher, right? Now the joke is they found, whatever, I don't know what happened. What? They don't escape like that. Yeah, people do supply chain for your transformation when they're trying to pull off an escape heist, right? They do this all the time. People do this. So when you use power of calculus, high stakes, high tension situations when you're trying to evade danger. Got no money? You're in a situation where you want to hide, you want to stow away. You got to hide somehow. Like I said, people experimented with math back then. You do high stakes, high tension games. You're trying to operate multiple multinational trading guilds, right, or corporations. You aren't going to get a bookkeeping job anywhere within the whole village, right? No, everyone took them. Oh shit, I only got the dangerous ones now. Oh no, no one safe's gonna hire me. You're poor. What do you do? I'm really desperate. Can I work for free so you can give me a bookkeeping job? I kind of just want to relax under a tree, under a Palm Beach tree, and forget about my days. Oh, of course you give those charts. Why wouldn't you? Oh, of course. Yeah, I blew up some. I blew up some I blew up some boats. I miscalculated the sine waves of the bearings. Right. I was sort of an oceanographer. I kind of failed on that one. And it's like, how many boats did you crash, actually? Actually, sir, my accuracy rate improved. I went from a 50% failure rate of my unit to an 80% success rate. That's improvement. But how many ships? Will you promise not to get me in trouble? 5,000? Okay. And the joke is he never submitted an actual resume. He just kind of poked him by giving him like crackers and shit. He just pitied him. Please give me a stewardess job. I don't want to work as a factory owner anymore. I want something better for myself, mister. Kid is like 15 years old. I want a better future for myself. I don't want a future where I die in a factory with coal. Please help me. I will do anything to help. I want to escape the Spaniards, right? I want to escape because I want a better life for myself. Give me a trip to... And then it's like, the Americas. Yeah. I heard Montezuma's there. I heard Montezuma has a nice little palace. I want to go hide there. No, don't say that directly. Like, I'm here to colonize for the Great Queen, Her Majesty. The joke is, they never come back. Yes, people used math to do this back then. So there's a lot of context missing. There's a hell of a lot of context. Right? Mental evolution. You gotta have a lot of balls. Gotta have a lot of spine to even think about you applying math in that manner. You notice today, all that history's gone. I do not expect people to learn math without that mental fortitude. That's just not possible. I'm not talking about discipline. I'm talking about the ability to process information. Like, mental evolution means you're processing information at a faster rate. I'm not talking about studying longer hours. I'm talking about evolving your ability to study smart. Evolving your average to study smarter. It's those kind of situations that evolve your untrained brain to think in a certain way. I'm talking about ways to upgrade your ability to study smarter. It upgrades both your ability to work smarter and work harder. Anyways, on this podcast here, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.